So let's start looking at some other options like roll. So if we go in here, and these ones have been around for a while, but they're good and they're important to character animation. So I'll just touch on them briefly. So one of the options is the is roll. So if you want to have spin on the arms, you have wrist roll or you have biped roll. What you really want to do is go in and say character. You can do the simple setup. You can do the dividing the rot X on the arm and stuff like that, but it really doesn't cut it when you start to get into scenarios. And you can also set up phi here. Really doesn't cut it when you start to get in scenarios where the wrist goes up, or so the form roll here is solved with quaternions, and that ends up adding good value for the animation process. Because look, you want it to work. You want it to work in all scenarios. Okay, so let's get this back. Also, me and my team, we don't have to come in and solve a whole bunch of crazy problems. The closer we can get to having this work, the better. So here on the wrist, you can see you can go in and you can subdivide the roll. Sure, that would work with a simple expression, but you can also go in and do this one, where the wrist is raised, and that's going to work. Or you can also work some IKFK blending. If I go and switch this into IK here, I'll get a drive the arm there, and if I release the up vector. So here the up vector wasn't released. So here I'm linking it with IKFK blending. This is probably what I would do. So see, if I use the IK controller, that also comes in and works in this scenario. You can see the roll dividing. Same thing on the bicep. In fact, the bicep is a harder problem, doing bicep roll, because it's got to roll this way down and that way back. And like we were talking about earlier, the arm hits a wide range of oh yeah, I got to go into FK now. The arm hits a wide range of different rotations, and it's cool. It's thought through. There was an insane rat's nest of tricky problems we had to solve to get this all working nicely, but it is working now. So you can go in, even though you've got your different rotation order. Here, I'll go zero this out. Even though you've got your different rotation, oh, it's this one. Even though you've got your different rotation order, you get this piece here. You start to spin it, and it's subdividing the roll. So you can go in, like, let's say you got your typical thing where I'll go into additive here. Where you've got your rotation doubling occurring, like on this axis back here. If you rotate either one, the roll is going to carry over. Actually, I used to have a better demo of it when the rotation orders weren't as well, but you're just gonna have to trust us on this one. It works well. It holds up in all scenarios because it's quaternion based. The next one is the skin. There's a bunch of different options on subdividing the skin. Just delete that. And so, it's fairly conventional stuff, but we want to make sure we're covering a lot of the popular scenarios here. So it's common to do a 2-point constraint under an armpit. So as things lift, as the arms start to lift up, it gives you a little bit of something to wait for in the pit. It also gives you here. I'm going to get rid of all this extra stuff. We don't really need that. I'll get rid of those. So it's kind of neat. We can go back to our older biped. So if I go in here and I want armpits, and I want actually, let me get a default guide, because I know that the default guide is going to work well on the body man. So if I go character, biped guide, character, and I'll go, yeah, that's good. I'm going to get the body man. Character rig from biped guide. So I'm going to turn on simple sliding on the armpits and the hips, and sliding and volume preservation. And what that does is that those sliding parts, like the back of the ass, the sides of the hips, the armpit here, it goes in and sets up constraints for sliding. So here, I'll just get a body here. It makes more sense if you look at it on a mesh. So I'll go ding ding. So I just select my geometry, envelope, set envelope. Yes, yes. And I'm not going to rig to the guide. I'm going to rig to the biped. And I'll smooth that a little bit. We used to have smoothing on by default. We don't anymore. We don't do any automatic smoothing. We let you control exactly how much you want. So if I go in here and look at this, then you can see as this arm lifts up, you see the way that stretch happens under the armpit? That is a lot better than what you get by default. And if I go look at the arms, it's very hard to make a character that can go and do the splits. But on this character you can. Oh, I smoothed it too much. Hold on. Here's a neat trick. If you want to reassign locally, you just select this area and you go local reassign, then you branch select everything you want under that. Bing. Now look as I move the leg. See, now if I move this one, it's not moving any of that leg. See, it keeps it. It's smart. Doesn't use anything it shouldn't be. So here I'll come down here. I'm going to do local reassign. Yeah, that's a good technique for breaking up your weighting. Okay, so I'll move this leg out of the way. But look, you see, if I do proper weighting, this character can do the splits because okay, this piece here is sliding on the sides. Actually, it's not set up perfectly, but you would set it up perfectly by where you position these. You have to do some tests, but you can get it to work right. And this one is here. This is the back of the hip. So then you can come in here and say, now the back of the hip is a little different because the back, like the back of the ass there, because you have to you have to slide over volume because it'll start to thin out as it. I don't want to do that. It'll start to thin out as it moves upwards. So as this slides upwards, you can see this null that we're weighting to. That's sliding across. That's sliding across this volume. Actually, I didn't pick it for weighting. You got to weight to it because I didn't include it in my weighting setup. But that's what's happening. So you've got this null sliding over the back. It's all optional, but it's there if you want to use it.